So good to see each and every one of you. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative. Welcome, as always, to Front Porch Brunch, a live stream that is dedicated to you, the hardworking folks out there in the fruited plain that are trying to make a buck, make it through the day, make it home, and do it all over again. It is so good to see you this morning. I'm just warming everything up. Give me just a second here, folks. I gotta check in on all my settings in all different places. This internet thing is crazy that I do. Just plain crazy. Making sure that everything's running right the way it should. Okay, that's good. That's good. Loving that. Love the aesthetic, as Keanu Thompson might say. Bless her heart. She's out in Minnesota this weekend. God love her. She and Gina are out there with the M. Holtz from Steel Toe Morning Show, which is really cool. I'm happy for those guys. I truly am. A great bunch of people. Good morning, Mr. Lowry. It is so good to see you, sir. Oh, goodness. Just getting everything warmed up. Looks like everybody's going to be dropping in here in a minute. And that's, yep, everything's operating the way it should. Oh, well, I say that now. Let's see how this live stream goes. You never quite know with these things. But we are on YouTube. We are on Rumble. We are on the Twitter, or X, as they now call it these days. As the kids say these days. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Okay. Oh, gosh. So much to talk about today. So much in the news. For me personally and in the world in general. So we're going to get into everything and have a fun 2 hours doing it. So good to see everybody this morning. Who else is here? I saw somebody. Oh, my girl. She's back from the boat. Oh, welcome, welcome. Mwah, 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 Leanne. So good to see you. I want to know, do you have a Bloody Mary? Have you already mixed a Bloody Mary? Inquiring minds want to know, my dear. Have you mixed that Bloody Mary? Did you bring one to the show? And if you did, you might earn the designation of, official bartender of the front porch. That's all I'm saying. So, who else is out there this morning? Daggone you. I know you're out there lurking around, you lurkers. Wait until I drink my... Okay, yeah, that liquid IV is gonna kind of, yeah, okay, I get it. Well, okay. Aside from being one of the main cheerleaders of our little endeavor here, you are definitely, I think you are now been designated the official bartender of the front porch. So congratulations, Leanne. You have been promoted, my dear. Oh, 11 a.m. is the Bloody Mary. Okay, well, fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, goodness. It is so good to see everybody this morning. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. This is Front Porch Brunch, where we're going to do a review of the news from the previous week. So much to talk about. So much to talk about. Before we get into news items, I have to go over some housekeeping items, which are all very important, and gives me pause to say a lot of neat things. First of all, as of Friday morning, the Front Porch YouTube channel has gone over 2,000 watch hours. All of y'all out there, some who are in the chat right now, some who are going to be watching this later on, some who watch my videos, whatever. Since this channel started in March of 2023, all of y'all watching the videos, the live streams, everything else, have now pushed this thing to over 2,000 watch hours. And as the proprietor and host of this YouTube channel, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are now over 430 subscribers on the channel, which is just awesome. We've got just about 50 subscribers on Rumble, although I'd like to see it a little higher, but that's okay. I'm grateful for every person who's watching, even if they're not necessarily even a subscriber. But yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to thank all of you for, boosting this channel as much as you do, and with all the sincerity in my heart, no BS, I thank you. I genuinely thank you for a channel that's been around now since April, May, June, July. Yeah, 5 months. This is just amazing. And, I cannot thank each and every one of you enough for everything you do, be it, retweets like Robert and Leanne and Millicent, be it, watching videos, sharing the word around, being there for live streams. You guys are just awesome. And I mean that in all sincerity. So, you know, this is as much an accomplishment for you guys as it is for me and for this channel. So, again, my thanks. I also want to give a thank you to Mr. Christian Watson. He was on my live stream called Chatting on the Porch Thursday night, and I'll tell you what, now Robert was there for this, and so he can attest to it. That was probably one of the most fun conversations that I think Christian and I both have had in a long time. Don't get me wrong, I love talking to everybody, okay? Every person who comes on my show as a guest, it's like I told Christian, I will invite anybody on the live stream, and I do it because I find them interesting. Okay? If I invite you to come on and I want to talk to you, it's because there's something about you, either of yourself or that you're doing, that I find interesting. And I want to talk to you about it. I want to find out what's making your gears turn. And I tell you what, for a 23-year-old young man, if Christian Watson, if nothing happens to him physically, and he keeps his head screwed on straight, in other words, no booze, no drugs, no nothing like that. If nothing bad happens to that young man before it is all said and done, he will be known as one of the leading lights in the intellectual conservative punditry movement. I mean, I knew he was very well spoken, very articulate, extraordinarily intelligent before I ever brought him on. I didn't realize how well published he was. And for about a good 2 hours, we got deep in the weeds on a whole lot of political science theory and commentary and everything else. And Christian Watson was absolutely a joy to have on my channel. And I think that he was pleasantly surprised with what he found here, because he told me later, and I'm not necessarily speaking out of school here. I think he'd admit to this, but he was expecting like a half an hour interview and then just, he's done. And we went, toe to toe for 2 hours. But I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was doing everything I could to keep up with him, because some of the stuff we were getting into went back to the days when I was an undergraduate, and that was almost 30 years ago. And I know that's hard to believe because it looks so young and pretty. But yeah, I mean, Christian was an absolute joy. And if you did not get the chance to see Chatting on the Porch, go out to my channel. It's under live feeds. So it's a great, if you want a really in-depth, hearty, healthy discussion of political theory, political science, etc. I highly recommend it to you. So there's that item. Now, upcoming appearances for your friendly neighborhood Front Porch Conservative. This Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, I will be on a live stream with the proprietors of the Dangerous Rhetoric podcast, Daniel and Brentley. It's probably going to be on Rumble, if I had to guess. I have not seen the link to it yet, and that's what I'm waiting on. Once I see it, I'll start pumping it out there. But yeah, more odds are I'm going to be the token straight. So, if you want to, but all joking aside, whenever Daniel and Brentley get together, a group of people for a conversation, it's usually around a topic and everybody gets into it in a good way. So I would recommend that to you. It's 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. I got an invitation to something last night that I was not expecting, and I have accepted, and I am genuinely looking forward to this. This coming Wednesday night, I will be on a YouTube channel called Keto and Crime, Keto and Crime. It deals with true life crime. It's hosted by one of the best people around on the internet. She's a good friend of Carrie Smith and Mike Harlow and a few others. Tracy, and she is a joy. I've heard her speak before. She's just a load of fun. And I'll be on her channel 6:30 Eastern. We will be doing a movie review of a movie that was done back in 2021 called American Insurrection. And no, it did not have to do with January 6th or anything like that, but I'm looking forward to it. I got to watch it a couple times this weekend. So I'll be on her channel, Keto and Crime, 6:30 Eastern this Wednesday evening. Now, the last housekeeping item, then we'll get down to business. I've got a guest lined up for this Thursday for Chatting on the Porch. The only thing that I am waiting on is the confirmation time. We've got the date. I'm just waiting for them to confirm the time. And I know I'm about to do a tease with what I'm about to say, but there's no good way of getting around this. This might be one of the biggest guests that I've had so far. And I don't want to say who it is until we've got the time locked in. But it's probably somebody that a lot of you out there, if you follow, YouTube political news or YouTube whatever, or you've watched different live streams in different places, you're going to recognize who this individual is. And he has graciously agreed to come on. It's going to be this Thursday. Like I said, the only thing we're waiting on is to confirm the time. I'm just waiting for an email back. And once I've got that, I'll announce it. So yes, I'm teasing you. Yes, I'm being horrible about it. Yes, I know all of this. And yes, I'm going to do it this way until I've got the time locked. So, because I don't want to jinx this. So those are my housekeeping items. And again, if you're just stepping into this live stream, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. This is Front Porch Brunch, where we're going to be doing a review on news items that have been going on in the past week. And glad y'all are here. Let's start with some political news. Some of it I touched on last week, but it bears going over because it's going to lead into some other stuff. So for those of you who are at this point watching what's going on with G.O.P. politics, and I know saying the G.O.P. and politics in the same sentence doesn't make a whole lot of sense because one requires a functioning political party that knows what the hell it's doing, and that's not the G.O.P., but laying that aside. You might have seen a video that I put out, related to how things were going for good morning. Yes, sir. By golly, by George, I'm glad you're here. Hang on. There he is. Welsh, a cup of tea is lifted in your general direction, and go see Leanne. She's serving Bloody Marys. There you are, my girl. You're not late. You're not. A Millicent is never late, nor is she early. A Millicent arrives exactly when she means to. Hopefully the people who wrote Lord of the Rings are not gonna, who directed or wrote the screenplay for Lord of the Rings aren't going to be watching. They're going, he stole the line from us. Yes, I did. Get over it. The bar opens in 15 minutes. Yeah, by the way, Welsh. Oh, okay. All right. I'll take a look at it. Well, all right. We'll get to it. Don't worry. I will take a look at it probably when I'm watching some video clip up here, but yeah, glad everybody's here this morning. Good to see such a wonderful bunch of people. So I did a video a little earlier this week about how things were going for Trump and how things were going for Governor DeSantis of Florida, the two leading contenders right now for the Republican nomination. And I think assigning the words leading contender to Governor DeSantis' campaign at this point is extremely misleading. So, but okay, I'll give him that much credit. How are things going for Trump, you might ask? Well, yeah, this is just too good to be believed. Look at this. This is headline from dailymail.com. Leads by 42 points in new national poll showing more Republicans are likely to vote for him after this third indictment and 75% think the charges are a distraction from Biden corruption, which we'll get into all that. Oh, we got a story about that later on. So yeah, this is going to get good, folks. Poll was done for, I guess, the Trump campaign. 52% of Republicans say they're more likely to vote for Trump since the indictment last Tuesday for charges related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The figures in polling memo for the Trump campaign shows he leads the Republican field with 55% support. DeSantis dropped to 13%. So yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you what, and I'll play the clip here in just a moment, because it bears repeating, and I'm going to make some comments about this afterwards. This was Donald Trump up in New Hampshire this week. Folks, take a listen to this, and like I say, it's going to lead to something else in just 1 second.
Somebody on the way up today, I told Brian, I told a few of the guys, so we did great in 2016. We actually did much better. As you know, we got millions more votes in 2020. The election was rigged. But there is more enthusiasm today than we ever had in 2016 and 2020. And the reason is because these people are so corrupt and they're so...
Okay. You know, most people will say that Donald Trump is engaging in the normal kind of hyperbolic language that he always uses. Oh, this thing's going to be the bestest ever. It's huge. It's, I mean, okay. But he's not wrong. He's really not. I was thinking about this morning getting ready for the show, I have a question. Okay, I have a question. For those of you who are watching this in the live stream right now, did you hear the audio okay? Was there any lag in the video? Were there any technical problems with that clip I just played? Give me a response in the chat. Because I did something this week that I am in the hope cures my problem. So let me hear it from you guys. Robert, Millicent, Leanne, Welsh, if you guys are out there, give me a shout and let me know, did that whole thing come through clean? Okay, we got some answers coming in. Okay, all right, cool. All right. Yes. Finally. Okay. All right. Well, now, Millicent, yeah. Okay, we'll get into that. Believe me, I got some stories coming up here in the next little bit. But yeah. Oh, thank you. Y'all are just... okay. If y'all have been around this channel, and I know some of y'all have now for a while, you guys know me. I'm a bit of a twitchy, neurotic perfectionist. And when things don't go right on my live stream, particularly if I'm doing something live, a video I can get away with crap happening behind the scenes because y'all never see it. Okay. But when I'm doing something live, I don't like problems. I like nice, clean, smooth. Everything works the way it should. Just, the boat is nice. Waves, no waves. So this week I did something that I think has fixed it. Knock on my wooden head. But anyway, getting back to more serious things here. Trump's not wrong. I was thinking about it this morning. In my lifetime, and probably in y'all's as well, I don't think we have ever seen the kind of situation setting up that we have had. Oh my word. Now I definitely got to stop and say hello to this man. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are not following the work of Ruben Christopher Haynes on his YouTube channels, on Twitter, and everywhere else, you are missing out. This is truly one incredible man. Subscribe to his channels, subscribe to his Twitter, follow him everywhere you can, because this is one genuinely good dude. Ruben Christopher Haynes, I salute you, sir, and you get a tip of the fedora. But I was thinking about this election that's coming up for the presidency, and this has got to be one of the most unique that I'll ever experience in my lifetime. In that, okay, you have an incumbent in the White House who, if it all works out, is going against a former president of the United States. We haven't had something like this in America since the late 1800s with the re-election of Grover Cleveland. Grover Cleveland was president, defeated, and regained the presidency. Well, okay, now that one, Millicent, you got to take up with YouTube. Don't know what to tell you there, my dear. You know, there's only so much that I've got control over. I'm good, but I'm not God. That's a YouTube conversation. But anyway, we've never had anything like this. And frankly, as early as it is, with Donald Trump racking up endorsements from sitting members of Congress, he didn't have that in 2016. With state legislatures, with senators, with governors. I mean, this is setting up, if this were a completely normal campaign, then this would be, it's going to be fascinating to watch anyway, but this would really be a sight to see. Now, I say normal campaign, and we'll explain that a little bit later as well. But to give some further idea of how things are going for Trump, I'll just run through these again real quick like we did in that video I did last week. This is from Arizona. Of the polls that have been done so far, in Arizona, against everybody else in the Republican field, Trump's got a 39-point lead. 39 points. In Iowa, average together every poll that's done, Trump against everybody else. DeSantis, Scott, Ramaswamy, which, by the way, keep your eyes on Ramaswamy. He's already starting to chew into DeSantis. In some polls, DeSantis has slipped to third already, and he's right behind Ramaswamy. In Iowa, Trump's got a 27-point lead. In Michigan, the latest poll that just came out from Emerson, which is a very respectable firm, Trump's got he's got a 48-point lead. Then here's the poll that cracked me up the most, I think. This one came out of Michigan, but before I show you the results, I don't know, I don't have it, but yeah, I'll just show you this real quick. Most New Hampshire voters who are Republicans would vote for Trump even if he were in prison on election day. God bless it. Trump said something back in 2016 that people are still mad at him about. And it went something like this. People would still support me even if I shot somebody on Fifth Avenue in New York City. And people got, I can't believe that's called. Well, that loyalty to Trump is still there, and it's even gotten so profound in certain parts of the country that there are Republican voters who are flat out saying, even if he were in jail on election day, I'd still vote for him. The late Rush Limbaugh said something about Trump, and it is so true. And that is that the only way that the bond between Republican voters and Donald Trump will ever be broken is if Trump breaks it. And Ruben brings up a really good point, and I totally agree with this. And that is, Trump is now the proxy of the regular American. And Ruben, you are absolutely right. The thing that I find fascinating, and various people have been talking about this, Robert Barnes, Rich Barris, a lot of different commentators on the right or the populist right or the libertarian right, is there is a paradoxical effect that's going on right now. Now, prosecutors across this country like Alvin Bragg or the gentleman out of Washington, D.C., who we here on the front porch affectionately refer to as Jackboot Smith. His real name is Jack, but we're just going to call him Jackboot because if you need to know what kind of a thug he is, well, why not just, give him a wonderful nickname for it? So we're going to call him Jackboot. So you got Alvin Bragg, you got Jackboot Smith, and then you got this chick down in Georgia. And now they're never going to say, "Oh no, we're not. These prosecutions and indictments are not political in the slightest. These are for the preservation of American justice." Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. Whatever. We're not buying that one. But the paradox is this. Every time Trump gets indicted, his support gets stronger. And Ruben, I think it has a lot to do with what you just said. And I'm going to put that back up there. Trump is the proxy for the regular American. Okay. Now, I'm going to try and describe the average American in the best way I can here. I'm not going to be totally accurate because I don't walk in everyone's shoes, but I think I can generally give you an idea of what the average American is like. Gets up, goes to work, if they're able to do so. They try and take care of their kids. They try and take care of their homes. They're good, decent people. They're not looking for a fight. They're trying to live their lives and raise their families and be good neighbors. They just want peace. They want to be left alone to enjoy the blessings of home and good health. When they see what's happening to Donald Trump, who to them embodies their values, nobody likes to see someone persecuted unjustly. And in the minds of millions of Americans, that's exactly what's happening with Trump. Yeah, well, no, Ruben, I did not see this, but I'm going to try and find the clip. I don't know if it'll be today when I do it, but I definitely want to see it. The joke, the CNN with the voters that do not want aid money to Ukraine, it was hilarious. And also frightening, as he said, that people are brainwashed by Trump. Well, of course they think he's brainwashed, but that people are brainwashed by Trump. They think it's a cult of personality, don't you know? Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. But I have not seen the clip, but I will try and find it. And it's just amazing to me, the more they try and indict Trump, the stronger his support gets. And I think a lot of it has to do with no one wants to ever see anybody in this country punished unjustly. Okay, all right, Leanne, I will go. Hey, if y'all want to try and find it real quick, Leanne has retweeted it. So check out her Twitter page and go take a look because apparently, in the words of the official bartender of the front porch, it is the most epic 10 seconds on CNN. Okay, you know what? Screw it. Hang on a minute. We got to do this. Now we got to do this. Hang on, y'all. Hang on. And I got another reason for doing it. Welsh wanted me to take a look at something real quick. Let me find this real fast. Hang on. I think I just found it. Maybe. Hang on. Leanne, what day was this on? Or was it in the past little bit? I'm looking. Trying to find this thing. Trying to find it real fast. Okay, Welsh, I did get a quick look at what you just sent me, and that's hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay, I'm going to find. Leanne. I am having an absolute break. Drop the link in chat. Let's do it. Let's do it that way. Drop the link in chat. Maybe Thursday. Okay. 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 All right. Let me try it one more time. Yeah, Leanne, if you can find that link, just okay, find it. Find it for me. So yeah, there's a lot going on here. Just an awful lot going on here. Now, a couple other sets of numbers here. And I want to show this to everybody. Pull this up real quick. Take a look at, yeah, here's the one I want. This widescreen this thing. This is the current running average on Real Clear Politics. Trump's got a 39-point lead. And these 2 or 3 most recent polls happened after the indictment in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump made the joke that he's about one more indictment away from, winning the presidency again. You know what? The old boy may not be wrong. He just may not be wrong at all. He was half joking about it when he said it, but I tell you what, I don't think he's wrong. The guy's sitting on an almost 40-point lead in the Republican field. The first debate is coming up between the Republican candidates around the tail end of this month, which, by the way, for the record, I don't think Donald Trump ought to go. I've got an idea what he ought to do. If I were Donald Trump, if it were me, I'd either get in contact with Tucker Carlson or, better yet, Joe Rogan. And on the same night as the Republican debate, I'd let one of those two good old boys interview me. Or let's do one better than that. Not only interview him, but let them watch the debate and critique the Republican candidates. Can you imagine what that would be like? I mean, you talk about sucking all the oxygen out of the room. I mean, if Donald Trump were looking for a way to do it, that's how I'd do it. That's exactly what I'd tell him to do. Go on Joe Rogan or go on with Tucker Carlson the same day as the Republican debate at the same time and just suck the oxygen right out of the room. I'd absolutely do it to him. Because the reality is, the only reason that the RNC wants Donald Trump there is to get ratings for the debate. Oh, no, they're trying to make sure that all candidates are represented in this thing. Oh, whatever. Whatever. So, that's what's going on inside the Republican field. But there's one more set of numbers I'm going to show you. And this is what's the most telling. Take a look at this. Again, this is from Real Clear Politics. This is the general election, Trump versus Biden, round 2. Head to head. If you took every poll out right now and average them, I mean, they are virtually dead even. Which, if that result were to hold going into Election Day, barring any election fornication, then you're looking at a Trump victory in the Electoral College. Because as the pollster Richard Barris has pointed out, Trump never even had a lead in 2020 and still got as close as he did. So yeah, all things in Trump world, laying aside the legal troubles, which we'll get into that here in a few minutes. Politically speaking, all things in Trump world are real good right now. Poor old Governor DeSantis. Yeah, he couldn't catch a break to save his life. I mean, last week he's replacing his campaign manager. So that happened. Then on top of that, he finds out that he misreported how much campaign money he's got for the primaries. He's down about $3 million lower. Then on top of that, there's this glorious gaffe. Oh my gosh. This one just blows my mind. Y'all got to see this. So Ron DeSantis is being interviewed by Dasha Burns of NBC News. And Ron DeSantis gives an answer to a question that frankly is gotta be, well, I'll just let this speak for itself. Listen to this.
election is what it is. You said all those theories that were put out did not prove to be true. So can we just put this to bed so you don't have to be asked about this a million more times? Yes or no, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
Whoever puts their hand on the Bible on January 20th every 4 years is the winner.
Okay, but respectfully, you did not clearly answer that question. And if you can't give a yes or no on whether or not Trump lost, then how can...
Of course he lost.
Trump lost the 2020 election.
Of course.
Okay.
Joe Biden's the president.
Just I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just can't believe he's that dumb. I mean, I can't. You know? Don't get me wrong. I mean, if he genuinely thinks that Joe Biden won the election, fine. He's got every right to hold that position. I think he's absolutely wrong empirically, because when you start laying out all the evidence and all the everything else, there ain't no way in the infernal regions of Dante's hell that Joe Biden got 81 million legitimate votes. Yes, YouTube, I said it. Okay? There ain't no way in the world he did. But, all right, fine. DeSantis has the right to hold that position. Okay? But it's the way he answers it. And you know what? I'll give Dasha Burns of NBC News complete credit here. She didn't sandbag him. Okay? She asked him a straight up, straightforward question that's a yes or no. Did Donald Trump win the election of 2020? And when he answered it the first time, she came back and said, "With respect, sir, you didn't answer my question." That young lady, whatever distaste I may have for gatekeeper journalists in this country, I give Dasha Burns a ton of credit. Okay? She didn't do anything wrong in that interview. Not on that moment. She did nothing wrong. And it's just amazing to me that a man that's supposedly so smart and is supposed to be, Trump without all the issues, he can't get through that question and not screw it up. And he screwed it up. Absolutely screwed it up. And if he had any hope of trying to win over Trump voters, that answer is not helping matters. And he's running out of time. September, October, November, December, January. We're now down to 5 months and 3 days before the Iowa caucuses, and DeSantis is not making a dent in Trump's lead. As a matter of fact, depending upon whose poll you look at in various states, DeSantis is either in third place or he's in danger of going into third place. I think Chris Christie's tied with him up in New Hampshire. Vivek Ramaswamy is, leading him now nationally. DeSantis is fading like a cheaply dyed rug. The worst part is, and I don't have the clip pulled up, but I should have. Robert Barnes and Richard Barris were doing a live stream Monday on Barris's channel. It's called "What Are the Odds?" And Barnes posed the question to Barris. He said, "What do you think the odds are that DeSantis will get out of this thing?" And Richard Barris, the pollster, and he knows people. People talk to him. They talk to him. He talks to people. There's a Republican donor, and obviously Rich Barris didn't mention names. And I totally respect that. Had a conversation with Barris and said, "Look, it's to the point now that Casey DeSantis and Ron DeSantis are so delusional about this, they're not going to get out of it." And if what Barris is hearing is correct, then at one point I would have felt sorry for DeSantis. I'm not now. If he stays in this thing and gets his butt kicked, I might feel a tinge of sorrow for him, but not when all the warning signs are there telling him not to do this, and he's still going ahead and doing it anyway. So that's what's going on the political front, at least so far in the GOP race for the presidential nomination. So it is 10 minutes after 11. That means Leanne has poured her first Bloody Mary, which, by the way, Ruben, if you need to see anybody for virtual drinks, talk to Leanne, because she's been now promoted to official bartender of the Front Porch. She's mixing Bloody Marys this morning. She ought to be well into her first one by now, because it's now 10 minutes after 11 on the East Coast. My name is Brian Trippett. I am your Front Porch Conservative. This is Front Porch Brunch, where we're doing a review on the news with some very cool people out in the audience. We got Ruben Christopher Haynes. We got Welsh Republic Podcast. We got Leanne. We got Robert Lowry. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that too. Haven't seen anything official in print yet, but I'm hearing the same thing, Robert. So we got Millicent, we got Leanne, we got all kinds of people out there. And we've got lurkers out there, daggone you. We love you. We know you're watching. We know you're watching on YouTube, or you're on Rumble. And if you're watching this on Rumble, I've got my chat pulled up. Drop a comment. Love to hear from you. And if you don't want to, that's cool too. We're on the Twitter, or X as the kids are calling it these days. So yeah, we're everywhere. Mr. Worldwide, such as I can. So let's get to our next story, and one kind of ties into the other. So for all the success that Trump right now is having politically, it's the legal stuff that's hanging him up. And I tell you what, Jack Smith of the Justice Department, who we here on the Front Porch, we refer to him as Jackboot. Jackboot Smith, well, I don't know. You're gonna talk to Leanne about that. So, that you got to talk to her over. She's bartending. Jackboot Smith. I tell you what, this guy is a piece of work. Now, don't get me wrong. Okay, if you are a prosecuting attorney, no, I tell you what, she getting. Ooh, okay. Well, we'll keep calling it Twitter to keep you happy, because I don't need some Australian flying up here from down under to wrap me over the head with a rolling pin or some crap. I don't need that in my life. No. Okay, so Twitter it is. Twitter it is. But Jackboot Smith, you don't expect a prosecutor to be a nice guy. You expect him to be civil, be whatever, but you don't expect him to be. He's trying to win his case. Okay, I get that. But the lengths that this guy is going to, and the lengths that Merrick Garland is allowing him to go to, just incredible. Just incredible. Just absolutely incredible. So, yeah. Link above. Got a copy and paste. Okay. All right. Here's a story out of Politico. And when I read this one, it just kind of blew my mind. Look at this. Special Counsel obtains search warrant for Donald Trump's Twitter account. This was from Politico, about, what is it now, 3 days ago? Special Counsel Jack Smith obtained a search warrant for Donald Trump's Twitter account earlier this year, according to newly revealed court documents. Twitter's initial resistance to complying with the January 17th warrant resulted in a federal judge holding the company, now called X, in contempt and levying a $350,000 fine. Federal Court of Appeals upheld the fine last month in a sealed opinion. On Wednesday, the court unsealed a redacted version of that opinion, revealing the details of the court battle for the first time. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Just amazing to me. Just amazing. Hang on for 1 second, folks. Stop. Okay. All right. We're gonna sidestep for a second because Leanne, we have found said link, and Ruben's kind of helped out on this one. Let's see if I can't. Yeah, this should be interesting. Here we go. I'm going to put this up here because this is just too funny. Take a look at this, folks.
Friends and family around the table don't watch and don't trust CNN. There is reverence for Ronald Reagan here. But listen.
The trust is gone.
If you think the United States should be supporting Ukraine in the fight against Putin, raise your hand. Nobody.
Can you say that again? Just the way you said it.
If you think the United States should be supporting Ukraine in the fight against Putin, raise your hand. Nobody.
Okay, I know I'm supposed to maintain a certain level of professionalism as I'm doing this live stream, but oh my God, that's funny. Oh God, I almost feel sorry for John King. I almost do. That's just Leanne, Ruben. Bravo. Oh, it's great. That's great. And when you see this guy's face after you hear that makes it even better. Look at that. What? You mean you do not support giving more money to my country? What? That's just, oh God, that's great. Well, to go back to what we were talking about a minute ago, actually, Leanne, to answer your question, they wanted to find something in his DMs. Did Elon release it or no? I have heard both. As I understand it, Leanne, yes. Twitter complied with the court order, with the warrant, and they did release Trump's access to Trump's Twitter account, the real at real Donald Trump. Now, there's some things about this that just make me mad and just absolutely just burn me about this whole thing. So let me pull this up for a second. This is from a Twitter page, but it's part of the documents that were unsealed. Look at this. Look at the second paragraph. On January 17, 2023, the government applied for and obtained a search warrant that directed Twitter to produce data and records related to @real Donald Trump Twitter account. At the same time, now listen to this. I'm not going to lie, this burns my rear end every time I read this sentence. At the same time, the government applied for and obtained a non-disclosure order which prohibited Twitter from disclosing the existence or the contents of the search warrant to any person. The non-disclosure order was to remain in effect for 180 days after its issuance. Hey, Jackboot, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? Do you not think that Donald Trump ought to know you're going snooping around in his Twitter account? Really? It's bad enough. I mean, the tweets are public, for God's sake. You can see what it is. So why even bother with the search warrant? We've got an answer for that one, but we'll get to that in a minute. So why even bother with the search warrant? But not only did you give Twitter a search warrant to go through the Twitter account, you gave them a non-disclosure order that told them they couldn't tell anybody for 6 months after it happened. Unbelievable. And then had documents sealed up by the court to definitely make sure no one knew what you were doing. I mean, yeah, you know, we call you Jackboot for a reason. We want people to know what kind of a thug you are. And that is exactly what you are. You are a legal thug. Congratulations, Jackboot. You are forever named. Unbelievable, this guy. Yeah, and yeah, absolutely right. Now, Leanne brings up something in her first sentence here, and I want to go back to this. They wanted to find something in his DMs. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. I mentioned a minute ago, Trump's Twitter account is, public. It's not like people can't go out there and read it for themselves. It's not like Jackboot couldn't turn around to one of his flunkies and go, "Hey, do me a favor, take a run through Trump's Twitter account and see if there's anything there we can use." So if the account is public, then why would you bother doing this? Well, Jack Posobiec has come up with a really good theory on this, and I don't think he's too far wrong. Take a look at this. This is from his Twitter page. From a former Trump administration staffer, over the last few weeks, the Jack Smith investigation has been dramatically widened. They're now dragging in mid-level and junior campaign and White House staffers. Even though the indictment has been handed down, some are being forced to testify in the coming weeks. Why are they doing this? Because it hurts the staffers financially. The average D.C. attorney to handle pre-indictment grand jury testimony cost is between $20,000 and $50,000. That's more than half of what most of the campaign staff would have made during their entire time on the campaign. The goal here is clear: chilling of the right to free speech, reducing the right of assembly, and to scare away GOP staff from future campaigns and administration. This is the long battle, and they are willing to fight. Poso's not wrong. I do not think he's wrong at all. They're trying to put the squeeze on people who may have had access to the Twitter account. I've also heard they're looking at metadata to see, who logged in and who logged out. What Jack Smith is looking for is who logged in and logged out of Trump's account, because they want to grab them and testify and put the squeeze on them to do it. That's my theory, and it's Poso's, and I don't disagree with it. I think Poso is absolutely right about this one. Posobiec is dead on. Oh, but okay, there's one other thing. I almost forgot to mention this. This is just too good. I'm going to put this up here. This is a footnote to some of that unsealed document. You got to see this, because when you stop and realize what it means, it's going to make you laugh. And Bongino is absolutely right. Absolutely right. Take a look at this. This is a footnote from the unsealed documents. I'm going to read this, and I want y'all's comment on this. The district court also found reason to believe that the former president would, quote, flee from prosecution. The government later acknowledged, however, that it had errantly included flight from prosecution as a predicate in its application. The court did not rely on the risk of flight in its ultimate analysis. Do y'all realize what we just read? Apparently, in their filings, Jackboot Smith and his flunkies tried to convince the court that Trump was a flight risk. Let me say that again. Apparently, Jackboot Smith and his flunkies tried to convince the court that Donald Trump is a flight risk. God. The fear and the hatred that they have for Donald Trump is absolutely astounding to me. Let me look. If you don't like Donald Trump, fine. You don't like his politics, fine. You don't like his personal style, fine. But this is just remarkable. And I tell you what, As hard as I'm laughing about it, I'm not the only one. This next thing kind of cracks me up. This is from Jonathan Turley. When he heard about the flight risk argument, it's hard to understand that finding Trump, Trump is one of the most recognized faces in the world. Where would he flee to? Moreover, he's been sued and charged around the country without going on the lam. Yet the district court cited flight risk in ordering the secret subpoena. He also has 24-hour Secret Service, 7-day-a-week Secret Service protection. Was the court afraid that he would lose and evade his security team, don a disguise, hop on a fishing boat to Cuba? What is not clear is whether Jack Smith originally claimed the risk or the court spontaneously added it. Hey, Jack. What's he going to do? Put on some kind of curly mustache, some kind of Raleigh Fingers curly mustache, put on a sombrero, jump in a fishing boat? Yeah, exactly. Clown world is right. Unbe-freaking-leavable, these people. Unbelievable. Oh my gosh. Just a flight risk. Donald Trump. Now, of course, Smith is saying, "Oh, we mistakenly put that in." Oh, you mean like you mistakenly left things out of the Miami indictments? Left out information there? You mistakenly did that too? Yeah, mistake my rear end. Just unbelievable. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is a flight risk. Try that one on for size. You know what? I said this in my one video earlier this week, and it's so true. You Republican congressmen and senators out there, you better get off your rear ends and do something about this. Either defund the prosecution, defund the D.C. court, whatever, but you guys need to get off your rear ends and do something, because this is beyond stupid. Don't be waiting for the Supreme Court to step in. You've got power, use it. And if you don't, it's going to get worse and worse. Here's one other article related to all this, and just the January 6th committee destroyed records and videos. They were told by incoming Speaker McCarthy, preserve your documents. Don't be getting rid of anything. And now we find out that the committee destroyed things. Paperwork, videos, stuff that Trump might have been able to subpoena for his own defense. Whoops! Sorry about that. They're gone. Can't give you what you don't have. What we don't have, we can't give to you. Everybody keeps focusing on Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, they're going to do this to you and me. Oh, you're just being conspiratorial about this. No, I'm not. If they can do this to the former president of the United States, what makes you think that the Justice Department, at some point, if you do something or I do something that they don't agree with, that they're not going to do it to us? This isn't about Donald Trump. This is about the Uniparty and its enforcement arms, the DOJ and the FBI, being able to maintain order for the regime. And I didn't say Biden regime. I said the regime, because this goes past Democrat and Republican. The great dividing lines that I understood growing up, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. No, those are gone. What we're down to now is authoritarianism versus individual freedom. I stand on the side of individual freedom. And I'm finding out that there's a lot of people I'm standing with that I never thought I'd be on the same side with. And I'm pretty sure they never thought they'd be on the same side with me. But we're finding that there's more of us than there are of them. What we're being controlled by at this point is a small, insulated group of people that over the course of 50, 60, or 70 years have set up the power structures in Washington, D.C. to the benefit of them and to the detriment of everybody else. Yeah. is in name only, has already said MAGA Republicans are a threat to society. Yep, you got that right. That speech in Philadelphia back in 2022 was a whole lot more than just a political speech. And people are going to say, "Oh, you're being awfully, dramatic about this." No, I'm not. I am being deadly accurate. Deadly accurate. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, that's Jackboot Smith. Just charming, charming fellow. I'll bet you he's on the A list for every cocktail party in Georgetown. Well, it's about 11:30 a.m. on the East Coast, 10:30 a.m. Central, and on down the line we go. And for y'all out there in California, what is it, California now? What, 8:30 out in California? Something like that, I think. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. Welcome, as always, to Front Porch Brunch. We are hanging out with some truly cool people. We've got, Miss Leanne, our bartender. We've got Ruben Christopher Haynes. We got Welsh Republic. We got Robert Lowry. We've got Lady Millicent. We got a whole bunch of good people. And if you're out there watching, let's try that again. Yes, I'm a professional. If you are out there watching this right now, don't be a stranger. Feel free. There it goes. Feel free to throw in a chat. We'd love to be able to say hello to you, welcome you to the porch. Always glad to have you. And we know you Rumble people out there, y'all lurkers, but we love you. So just drop a comment in because we'd love to hear from you. The discussion about old Jackboot Smith kind of leads us to a topic that I call Biden's new best friends. Oh. One more thing about old Jackboot. And this kind of leads into, this will go along with the discussion about Biden's new best friends. In probably the coup de grace for his activities this week, old Jackboot has told the judge when he'd like to start the trial. Y'all ready for this? Check this out. U.S. proposes January start for Trump election trial. This is from Reuters. Listen to this. U.S. prosecutors on Thursday asked a federal judge to begin former President Donald Trump's trial on charges of trying to overturn his 2020 election loss to Democrat Joe Biden on January 2nd, 2024. Now, for those of you out in the audience that are watching this, and Millicent, God love you, honey. Your dedication is just amazing. 1:30 in the morning in Melbourne. I should probably be honey, if you need to go to bed, go to bed. I love you. I am glad you're here. I do not want you to turn into a zombie. Okay. I don't need to hear reports that there's a woman down in Australia that's walking around, trying to gnaw on people, for hunger because of lack of sleep. Okay. Honey, if you need to go to bed, I love you. You are good in my eyes. Go. I love you. I get it. Believe me. Yeah, that's what they're pushing for. Now, for those of you out in the audience, so Jackboot wants to start this trial on January 2nd. Just out of curiosity, does anybody know of anything else going on in America in January of 2024? I'll kind of linger here for a second and see what you guys put in chat because I'm really curious. If y'all, I know you guys, I know I'm going to get the answer I'm looking for because you guys are the smartest audience on the internet. Okay. Though we be time. Yeah. That's my girl. Yep. The Iowa caucuses start January 15th. Jackboot wants to start this trial on the 2nd of January, less than 2 weeks before the Iowa caucuses. I tell you what, if this does not get appealed up to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court step in, then I don't know what's going to happen here because this is a railroad job. This is absolutely a railroad job. Honey, go to bed with our blessings and dream of me often. Love you. Good night in Australia. Yeah, this is a railroad job. Absolute railroad job. January 2nd, less than 2 weeks before the start of the Iowa caucuses. I tell you what, I mean, look, if the Supreme Court deems there ought to be a trial on this question, fine. But for the love of God, I mean, wait till after the election to let it be decided. Why is it that every time a piece of news comes out, and we're going to get to another point about this in just a second. Why is it every time a piece of news comes out about the Bidens, old Jackboot or somebody else is dropping news that affects Trump? I think we all know the answer to this one, but I'll just ask for the benefit of liberals who are watching this who are like, "Oh no, there's no coordination here. There's no coincidence. It's just a weird coincidence that this always happens." Leanne, this is why I love you, darling, aside from the fact that you make a fabulous Bloody Mary, which someday I will partake in with you. I do promise. Yeah, it's a diversion. That's absolutely all it is. It's a diversion. Now, that gets to Trump's new best friends. Ladies and gentlemen, aside from old Jackboot Smith, who's definitely on the A list for every cocktail party in Georgetown right now because of what he's doing to Trump, let me introduce you to some more of Biden's new best friends. Judge Tanya Chutkan. This is the judge that is overseeing Trump's trial in Washington, D.C. At least right now she is. I'm hoping for a change of venue to get her out of this. But this is the current judge. And I didn't know that much about the woman, to be perfectly honest. But I'll tell you what, after this week, oh, let me tell you, she is my new favorite judge to keep an eye on in America. You want to know why? Check out some of this stuff. This is a story from the Washington Times, and I want to set this up. So, Jackboot Smith offers up a request to the judge this week about basically putting a gag on Donald Trump, what he can and can't say outside the courtroom regarding his trial, right? Well, the judge hands down her ruling, and I'll go ahead and say it, Jackboot didn't win, but it's her comments in the ruling that absolutely should send a chill down everybody's back. Because like I said, if they can do this to a former president of the United States, they can do it to you and they can do it to me. Listen to this from the Washington Times. Judge says Trump's free speech right, quote, not absolute in January 6th trial. Article written by Dave Boyer. The federal judge overseeing the 2020 election conspiracy case against Donald Trump said the former president's First Amendment right, quote, is not absolute, as she crafted a ruling on prosecutors' request to bar him from talking about some aspects of the case. At the conclusion of a 2-hour hearing on Friday, U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan said her order won't give prosecutors everything they sought to clamp down on Mr. Trump's public comments before trial. But the judge said she will restrict Mr. Trump in some ways, for example, limiting his access to evidence deemed, quote, sensitive. The judge said Mr. Trump's status as a candidate for the 2024 G.O.P. presidential nomination doesn't affect her decision. Now listen to this. Quote, the fact that he's running a political campaign currently has to yield to the administration of justice. And if that means he can't say exactly what he wants to say in a political speech, that is just how it's going to have to be, the judge said. I cannot and I will not factor into my decision what effect will have on a political campaign for either side. The next hearing is scheduled for August 28th, when Judge Chutkan, an Obama appointee, is expected to set the trial date. Now, I want to go a little further into this. Read a few other things. The former president's lawyer said the request by Smith to bar Mr. Trump from talking about the case was too broad and would violate Mr. Trump's First Amendment rights. Trump lawyer John Lauro said the government's goal was to interfere with the campaign. Now listen to this response from the judge. Quote, I'm not going to accept that. I haven't seen any evidence that this is politically motivated. Really? Really? None of this is politically motivated. I mean, I'm not surprised by the answer, but I am shocked by it. Every time a piece of news comes out about Joe and Hunter Biden, the very next day, some indictment comes down about Trump or some news comes out that's affecting him negatively. Oh, no, it's not politically motivated. I haven't seen any evidence of that. Unbelievable. She said Mr. Trump won't be allowed to have any electronic devices that could copy or reproduce trial documents if he reviews such items alone. Okay, that I understand. Just her quotes are just extraordinary to me in this. I think the last one's the one that gets me the most. The judge cautioned both sides to prevent a carnival atmosphere in the case before a trial is held. Quote, the more a party makes inflammatory statements about this case, the greater the urgency that we proceed to a trial quickly. I'm going to read that again because I want to let this sink in for everybody. Quote, the more a party makes inflammatory statements about this case, the greater the urgency will be that we proceed to a trial quickly. Until yeah, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say something, and I am going to exercise my right to freedom of speech. The judge just blackmailed Donald Trump. Now, that comment is supposedly for the prosecution and for the defense, but I love the way she phrases, the more a party makes inflammatory statements about this case, the greater the urgency that we will proceed to a trial quickly. In other words, hey, Trump, you start talking about this in public, I'm going to speed up us getting into a courtroom. She just blackmailed Donald Trump. I'm sorry. I don't care what she says. I don't care what anybody in Washington, D.C. says. That is blatant, unadulterated blackmail. Yeah. Yep, Robert, you are absolutely right. Her message to him, we're going to screw you and you can't complain, or we're going to screw you harder. Brother, you are absolutely dead on the money with this. Unbelievable. I mean, there's another quote in here. I'll just read it. I won't pull it back up. Quote, I'm finding it very difficult to envision a former president engaged in a political campaign talking about witnesses who may not have the kind of protections that he has. I can see the possibility of a lot of problems, but I can see how in advance of trial, making public statements about potential witnesses is going to, in and of itself, affect the orderly administration of justice and could run afoul of the... This woman is just, she has got to be taken off this case. She just blackmailed one party to it. And furthermore, she said his right to free speech is not absolute. Well, what other rights are not absolute? Fourth Amendment right to privacy? Rights against self-incrimination? I mean, what other rights are not absolute, Your Honor? I mean, hell, you've already said the First Amendment's not absolute. Let's just lay it all out there for God and the world to hear. Just what else do you think is not absolute? Oh, well, this only applies to Donald Trump. No. If you can do this to Donald Trump, Judge Shutkin, you can do it to anybody. So I want to know right now, before God and the world, what rights do you think are not absolute? Let's hear it. Because apparently you don't think free speech is. And frankly, what difference does it make whether he's speaking in the context of a political campaign or whether he's talking to his neighbor across the fence? He's got the right to freedom of speech in any venue at any time, anywhere in the United States of America. Oh, his rights are not absolute. I'm going to read just, oh my God. The fact that he is, quote, the fact that he is running a political campaign currently has to yield to the administration of justice. Translation. We are telling you how this court is going to go, and your rights are subservient to that. And if it means he can't say exactly what he wants to say in a political speech, that is just how it's going to have to be. No, madam, that is not how it's going to have to be. You are going to recognize his and every other American's right, absolutely guaranteed right to freedom of speech. I tell you what, I don't know what, I mean, maybe Trump's lawyers have already filed for the change of venue, but by God, if they haven't, they need to do it now. And I don't know what kind of motions they're planning to make to appeal this up to the Supreme Court, but I'm telling you right now, get your paperwork ready. Because I'm telling you, the first ruling that comes down that's not in Trump's favor, take it straight to the Supreme Court. Bypass the whole circuit, just go straight on up. Because I'm telling you right now, this woman is out for blood. And y'all think I'm joking about this. Let me show you some other stuff. Because this is just going to make you mad. Listen to this. This is a post from Julie Kelly. Today, Judge Tanya Shutkin warned Trump's lawyers that politics had no place in her courtroom. But here is, now listen to this. But here is Judge Shutkin berating a January 6th defendant during a sentencing hearing in October of 2022. She clearly expressed anger that Trump was, quote, still free and not behind bars. And this is from the sentencing hearing. I see the videotapes. I see the footage of the flags and the signs that people were carrying and the hats they were wearing and the garb. And the people who mobbed that Capitol were there in fealty, in loyalty to one man, not to the Constitution, of which most of the people who came before me seem woefully ignorant, not to the ideals of this country and not to the principles of democracy. It's the last sentence. It is blind loyalty to one person who, by the way, remains free today. She's prejudiced against Trump. That, and probably his lawyers have seen this, but I'm sorry, that's a comment of prejudice against the defendant. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but even I can see that one. It's a blind loyalty to one person who, by the way, remains free to this day. I mean, she's out for a scalp. She is absolutely out for a scalp. And she wants Trump's. But, by the way, Jackboot Smith and Tanya Shutkin are not the only new friends of the Bidens. I flashed it up there before I was ready to start talking about it, but I'll go ahead and put it up there now. Yeah. Leanne, I absolutely agree with you. This ought to be grounds for change of venue. It really should. Absolutely ought to be. Now, does anybody remember earlier this week when U.S. House Representatives member James Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, said that he is ready to subpoena the Bidens and members of the Biden family? If you're not, take a look at this. This is an article from the New York Post. Headline: James Comer says Biden subpoena's coming. We're putting together a case. Article by Ryan King. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said Thursday he intends to subpoena members of the Biden family as his panel's investigation of the president's role in the son's influence peddling gathers pace. Quote, This is always going to end with the Bidens coming in front of the committee. We're going to subpoena the family. We know that this is going to end up in court when we subpoena the Bidens. So we're putting together a case, and I think we've done it very well. And you know what? I don't disagree with him. I don't disagree with Comer at all. for as aggravated as I am with how slowly things are going in his committee and other places, I will give Comer this. He's putting together one airtight case. I mean, you've heard my commentary on this. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing left to prove is the money going through all those crazy LLCs and into Joe Biden's pocket. He shows that, we're going straight to articles of impeachment. Now, that was Thursday. Remember what I said that that Jackboot and Shutkin aren't the only friends of the Bidens? Watch this. From Fox News, and this broke just yesterday. AG Garland appoints Hunter Biden investigator David Weiss as special counsel. Weiss is the federal prosecutor who brought charges against Hunter Biden's son in Delaware. Now, there's an old expression for those of us who live out in the country, and I think everywhere else in America, everybody uses this same expression in one form or another. Have you ever heard of the fox guard in the hen house? That's what David Weiss is as a special prosecutor on the Hunter Biden situation. Now, if y'all aren't familiar with who David Weiss is, he's the fella inside the Justice Department who's been bringing this case over 5 years. 5 years! 5 years against Hunter Biden. And then wound up, after exhaustive investigation of 5 years, some misdemeanor charges related to gun possession and misdemeanor charges related to taxes, and a diversion deal that makes sure that Hunter doesn't serve 1 day in jail. That is what we've gotten from David Weiss after 5 years. And now he's going to be named special prosecutor, which that strikes me as extremely odd, to be perfectly honest. And I'm not the only one, because believe it or not, the gatekeeper press started asking some very appropriate questions. This is from Benny Johnson's Twitter page. Hang on to that, Leanne. We're coming to it, honey. I'm going to set you up, because you just hold that thought. This is from Benny Johnson's Twitter page. AG Merrick Garland is asked, if Weiss had the authorities he needed, why does he need to be special counsel? Do you still have faith in U.S. Attorney Weiss after the deal fell apart? Unbelievable. And this is from Simon Atiba, which I tell you what, I'd love to sit down and do an interview with this guy, because he's just fascinating. This is from his Twitter page. This is Catherine Herridge of CBS. I want you to listen to this clip, because this to me is just amazing. And I tell you what, I don't know Catherine Herridge's politics, but as far as being a reporter that's pretty straight and pretty honest, she's good at what she does. Listen to this.
A former federal prosecutor I spoke to just before this event said to me the appointment of a special counsel would have the effect of delaying a resolution on the Hunter Biden matter, in his opinion. And it would certainly delay any anticipated testimony from the U.S. Attorney in Delaware to Republicans on Capitol Hill who have been seeking that testimony for several months. So it's an extraordinary development, considering where the two parties were 2 weeks ago to wrap up this years-long case, now to the appointment of a special counsel that will have these broad...
Hang on, guys.
...authorities, most importantly, to continue this ongoing investigation, Margaret.
Okay, now hold on. Just listen to everything she said. This is being done to delay the Republicans on Capitol Hill. That's what Herridge is being told by a former prosecutor. Now listen to this next part, because this is absolutely prescient and absolutely dead on the mark.
Catherine, and it really is interesting, given that it was June 7th, the U.S. Attorney said he had ultimate authority, and then again had said that, to Congress, that he felt he had that. And now this Tuesday says, I need some independence to go further into this investigation.
Okay. I'm not sure who this reporter was that she was just talking to, but that's talking with Catherine Herridge. But I tell you what, she's spot on with this. Absolutely spot on. Why? Why do you need to appoint? Why do you need to appoint a special prosecutor if he's already got all the authority? Why? Remember what David Weiss said back in June. I've had the full authority all the time to do anything on this that I wanted to do from the Attorney General. Then why do you need to be named? Why would the Attorney General now need to name you a special counsel? Why? What are you getting by being named special counsel that you supposedly say to everybody you didn't have or that you had prior to all this? I think Catherine Herridge is absolutely spot on with this. This is nothing more than delay. And by the way, folks, do you realize that David Weiss being appointed special counsel is probably not permitted? Let me put Leanne's quote. And not legal to appoint someone in the DOJ. Must be outside counsel. And, yep. And let me show you what she's talking about. And I'm not the only person who's pointed this out. This has been pointed out by people like Andy McCarthy, himself a former prosecutor, Alan Dershowitz, the legendary professor from up at Harvard. Look at this. Qualifications of the special counsel. An individual named as special counsel shall be a lawyer with a reputation for integrity and impartial decision-making, and with appropriate experience to ensure both the investigation will be conducted ably, expeditiously, and thoroughly, and that investigative and prosecutorial decisions will be supported by an informed understanding of the criminal law and Department of Justice policies. The special counsel shall be selected from outside the government of the United States. Let me read that again. The special counsel shall be selected from outside the United States government. This guy David Weiss, should not even be special counsel. Now, it's been done before. I will say that. It's been done before. Quick pause to lubricate the vocal cords. It's been done before. Durham was named special prosecutor. He was up in Connecticut working on various stuff for the government. But by and large, it's got to be somebody outside the government of the United States, outside the Justice Department. And telling you right now, they're running cover for the Bidens. And you don't believe me? I found this article at the New York Post. And this, to me, is absolutely great. Take a look at this. Headline, Merrick Garland's latest dirty trick to protect the Bidens, from James Bovard. Great article. Attorney General Merrick Garland may have just played his last trick card to save Joe Biden, appointing a special counsel to delay prosecution of his son Hunter. With any luck, the official Justice Department final report on the Biden family shenanigans will be released in December 2024, 1 month after the presidential election. Perpetrating an investigation is the most respectable Washington cover-up scam. Federal agencies and the Justice Department dragged this out for 5 years. 5 years! The investigation of Hunter's gun, tax, and foreign influence peddling. The statute of limitations already expired on several of his crimes, but that was okay because of the spelling of his last name. Despite a string of crimes that would have sent the average American up the river for a decade, Biden's Justice Department cut a deal in June that permitted Hunter to plead guilty to misdemeanors, not serve a day in jail, and dodge any other federal charges. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it goes without saying this is dirty, but the in-your-face of all this is just incredible. Just incredible. I said a couple of weeks ago, I did not want to see a special counsel appointed in the matter of Hunter and Joe Biden. And the reason that I said it is because you cannot trust this to the Justice Department. They'll sweep this under the rug. And that is exactly what Merrick Garland is trying to do with all of this. He's trying to sweep this baby under the rug. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Mind-boggling. Just mind-boggling to me. But these are Biden's new best friends. And trust me, they're going to get some very big Christmas cards come December. Dear Tanya, dear Jackboot, dear Davy Boy, thanks for being there. With love, Joe. Wouldn't surprise me if they get chocolates delivered to their offices every month from this guy. Jeez. Anyway, it is 12 o'clock on the East Coast. My name is Brian Trippett. This is Front Porch Brunch. And I tell you what, the past couple of weeks have been just pure frustration for me from a technical standpoint. But I got to say, and don't get me wrong, I love doing this live stream every Saturday morning. But God, when it's flowing real good, especially from the techie side of it, it helps the confidence. And this one's feeling good again. This one's feeling real good. So I'm going to thank everybody who's here. Leanne, Millicent had to go to bed. Bless her heart. She's down in Australia. Robert, Welsh, Ruben, Christopher, everybody who's here watching this. And if y'all lurking around out there, that's all right. We love you, even though you're lurking. We know you're lurking, you lurker. There's people on Rumble, there's people on Twitter, there's people on YouTube that are watching this. And God bless every one of you. I'm glad to have you here. This is just a load of fun, But if you're out there lurking, you lurkers, drop a comment. We're a friendly bunch. We ain't gonna bite too much. No, sorry, did I say that? No, we're not gonna bite. Just, we're friendly. And we'd love to know you here. So, please stop by. Please say hello. Drop a comment in chat. We've now reached that portion of the show that I refer to as HodgePodge Stew. And for those of you who are watching this for the first time, or you're maybe watching this on live stream later on during the day, HodgePodge Stew is that collection of stories that are important. Maybe they weren't, above the fold on your local newspaper or above the fold on the national newspapers, but they're things that are interesting and I think are worthy of comment. They definitely are things that ought to be talked about. And I came across a story earlier this week that, God, it's got so much to say, and I think definitely ought to be referred to. I'm going to bring this up and let you guys look at it, and I just want to talk about it with you for a few minutes. This is from the Washington Times. Headline: D.C. council member wants National Guard to contain the city's crime, quote, cancer. Article written by Matt Delaney, and this is from Tuesday of this week. A D.C. council member said Tuesday that the mayor of the nation's capital needs to join him in calling out the D.C. National Guard to regain control of streets overrun by violent crime. Ward Representative and Democrat Trayon White made his case for a military deployment during an impassioned press conference Tuesday, just feet away from where 3 people were gunned down over the weekend near the corner of 16th Street and Good Hope Road in Southeast. Mr. White said crime in his ward east of the Anacostia River has become a, quote, cancer that has spread to other parts of the city. Quote, desperate times call for desperate measures, Mr. White said. We have young men wandering through the community with AK-47s, letting off 60, 90, up to 100 rounds daily. The council member said he reached out to Mayor Muriel Bowser, to discuss his proposed call-up of the National Guard, a deployment that would require coordination with the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, and the White House, since the president has the authority over the local Guard units. The district has seen 13 slayings in just the first 9 days of August. 161 homicides recorded so far this year represent a 28% increase from 2022, and violent crime is up 37%, with sexual assaults, robberies, assaults with dangerous weapon, and carjackings all seeing year-over-year increases. Now, I've got a bunch of things to say about this. And again, as I've said on numerous occasions, I'm no lawyer, but I'd like to think that I remember enough American history and know enough from life experience to realize a number of different things. Number one, there are laws in place that are called posse comitatus. The posse comitatus laws prevent the federal military troops from being used in a civilian police action. Now, strictly speaking, you might be able to make a very hair-fine distinction that National Guard is not, quote, U.S. military, but yeah, it's U.S. military. You can't use them in a civilian police action. I mean, this was tried back in the 90s. There was a former mayor back then, I forget the name of it, sent letters off to Bill Clinton saying, hey, you know, we got to get crime under control in the district. You got to give us National Guard troops. Clinton wouldn't do it. Now, his motivations, who quite knows what he was thinking, but he sent back a letter to the then mayor of D.C. said, we're not doing it. You can't have federal troops to do this. And Robert, you may be absolutely right, brother. You may be absolutely right. And good point. Good point, Leanne. When they said Donald Trump was going to enact martial law, yeah. And now it's the Democrats trying to do the very same thing. Posse comitatus laws prevent U.S. military from being used in civilian police action. That's number one. Number two, I have a question for this councilman. Have you ever voted to cut the police budget for the Metro District of Columbia Police Department? I'm waiting for an answer. I don't know if he has. Seriously, I don't know if he has or not. But I think that's a perfectly legitimate question. Or I'll do you one better than that. Let's say you haven't voted for it. Okay, let's say that you've just come into being a city council member and you never voted on such questions, okay? Back when it was being done by someone else and they voted for it, did you support the idea of cutting money out of the police department's budget to fight crime? Because here's my problem with what this councilman's wanting to do, laying aside the issue of posse comitatus, okay? Lay that aside. You are reaping what you have sown. Now, let me be very clear with everybody here. And I shouldn't even really have to say this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't want to see any community. I don't care if it's my hometown or Robert or Leah or anybody's hometown or anybody watching this live stream or anybody even not watching this. I don't want to see anybody's neighborhoods and towns and cities inflicted with crime. Okay? I want to see all people living in peace and obeying the law. Okay? Fine. However, I've got a problem with people who call for the reduction of resources for your local police department, and then they get an increase in crime because you don't have enough police to handle what's going on. And then you start crying about it, and you want someone to fix it, and not only fix it, but fix it by methods that are not allowed under the law. In simpler language, you made this mess. Fix it yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that you can totally police your way out of a crime problem. Okay? There are individual matters of the heart that make people do the things that they do, such that it winds up they break the law doing it. Okay? The heart of man is desperately wicked above all things. Who can know it? Okay? Individuals in the end are responsible for their actions, and they commit crimes. So you can't totally police your way out of a problem. Nor do I want to see a city turn into some kind of martial law crackdown, like Robert and Leanne were referring to a moment ago when they dropped their comments. I don't want to see so much police that the city feels heavy and repressive and everything else. Okay, if you have a moral citizenry, yes, you'll still need police, but you shouldn't need that much, or you shouldn't need an appropriate amount. But my problem with it is this: you made this mess, and now you want somebody else to fix it. And here's another point to stop and consider. Only in the arrogance of the imperial capital that is Washington, D.C., can you have a problem with crime and you're willing to call out the military to try and resolve your issue. Let me say that again. Only in the imperial capital of Washington, D.C., can you have a crime problem and you feel so arrogant and so entitled that you want to get the military called out to solve your local crime problem. And you know what? I get it from the city councilman's standpoint. You don't want to see people get killed in your district. You don't want to see people get killed anywhere. You most certainly don't want to see violence on the streets. You don't want to see gun running. You don't want to see, I get it. But no. The military is not going to solve your problem. You've got to solve your problem. And it may mean that you change how you view the world and the type of solutions that you're willing to put up with to make that happen. So I came across that article. I just thought it was really interesting. Now, there's one more for this session called HodgePodge Stew. I thought this one was just kind of funny, actually, to be perfectly honest. I think it was a couple of months ago now, and I did a video about this, about migrants being shipped to New York City, and then New York City shipping those migrants to towns 60 or 70 miles outside of the Big Apple city limits and paying money to house them in high-end hotels and even kicking out homeless veterans to make the room for the migrants or the illegal immigrants. Well, toward the end of that video, I remember there was a New York Times article that specified that it's estimated that about 5,000 illegal immigrants a day were going to be shipped up to New York City, and it was going to wind up like 250,000 every month by the time that everything rolled downhill. Well, the mayor of New York City, the illustrious Eric Adams, is now squawking and screaming loud enough that the Biden administration thinks they got to do something about all this. Check this out. I love this headline. This headline's great. Biden finally sending top aide to meet with Mayor Adams in New York City as migrant crisis price tag hits $12 billion. Now, I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at the poor citizens of New York City that are having to deal with this, okay? But if ever this was a result of the combination of bad policy and bad politics, this is a perfect example of what you get when you put those two things together. This is an article from a couple of days ago written by Nolan Hicks and Bernadette Hogan. The White House is finally dispatching one of President Biden's top aides to the Big Apple for a sit-down with Mayor Eric Adams that is set for Thursday morning, the Post has learned. The meeting between His Honor and Tom Perez, the Director of Intergovernmental Affairs at the White House, is scheduled to take place at City Hall, according to two sources familiar with the matter. The expected tete-a-tete will unfold just hours after Adams warned the projected price tag to house and provide social services for the asylum seekers, no, they're illegal immigrants, let's just call them what they are, could hit $12 billion, and another 60,000 could join the roughly 100,000 who have journeyed to the 5 boroughs so far. Quote, "We are past our breaking point," Adams told New Yorkers in a dire address from City Hall's historic rotunda on Wednesday, unveiling the shocking tallies. New Yorkers' compassion may be limitless, but our resources are not. And our partners at the state and federal level know this. City Hall did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the meeting with Perez. Okay, Robert, I am kind of with you on this one. Let me pull his comment up here real fast. I'm laughing at them. They voted for this. These New Yorkers voted for Joe Biden. You voted for Eric Adams. You had an alternative in Curtis Sliwa. You didn't want him. But we'll take the Democrat because, Republican bad. Well, baby, you get everything that goes with it. Everything. And I warned, I warned New York City, for those New Yorkers, and I know y'all watch my videos, you won't admit it, but you love this old Southern boy. I tried to warn y'all this was coming, and it's now costing you upwards of $12 billion to house all these illegal immigrants, provide them with social services and everything else. What you ought to be doing is putting them on buses and sending them back down to Mexico. Put them on airplanes and send them down to Guadalajara or Nicaragua or someplace well below the Texas border. Okay? But nope. And you know what? I will give Eric Adams this much, and I agree with him. I think the compassion of people in New York City for people who are truly in trouble and in need, it's there. I mean, I and other people around the country always talk about the gruffness of New York City people. They're a fairly hard-bitten lot. Okay, they're tough talking and everything else. But that said, in times of need, I think, and I'm deadly serious about this, I think people in New York City are genuinely some of the most compassionate people in the world, especially, most certainly in the United States, but I think in the world, which I think in part is when everything went down after 9/11, which is why the nation in part pulled together and tried to help New York City as much as they did. I think there was a true moment of, hey, y'all been there for us over the years. It's our turn to help you guys. We're not New Yorkers. You're not New Yorkers. We're not Southerners. We're not Westerners. We're Americans. And I agree with Adams. The compassion of the people of New York City is limitless. He's right. Their resources are not. On that point, he's right too. But why do you keep doing something that you know you can no longer do? I mean, think about what Adams is setting up for here. He's telling the people of New York City, we got a $12 billion, budget problem. We've got all these migrants coming in. We've got, everything else. But yet you're going to the federal government, asking them to give you more money to deal with the problem. It's like, I've got a hole in the bucket and I'm losing water out the bottom of the bucket. I need you to pour more water into the bucket. This is crazy. Anybody would tell you, plug the hole in the bottom of the bucket. Dear Liza. What Adams ought to be doing is joining in arms with those who are against illegal immigrants crossing our border and are against the Biden administration's efforts to bring in more illegal immigrants. And even though it might be a strange bedfellow you're getting in bed with, that's what you ought to be doing. If they got them on buses to ship north. Yeah, point. If you can put them on a bus to send them up north, why don't you put them on a bus and send them south? Yeah. And that's something that I think again, I don't know a lot of people from New York City. I mean, on occasion I get the chance to talk to Chrissy Mayer and others, but I really do think that that's one of the things. If you took the average let's just say the average Democrat in New York City, because they see what's going on. They see it every day. And if you got them to be really honest with you, you can't tell me it does not bug them to know that their compassion and their willingness to help the downtrodden is being taken advantage of, not only by their city government, but by their state and federal government. So, I'm going to keep an eye on this because I think this is a fascinating story. I really do. I mean, this is one of those moments where they're eating their own, so to speak. So, yeah, definitely worth keeping an eye on. So, well, folks, that's about everything I've got for Front Porch Brunch. There's a whole bunch of other stories, and I'm not trying to ignore them. I haven't really had the time or the bandwidth to be able to dig into them the way that I really want to. I'm hoping to put some new video. Well, not hoping, I will. I'll be putting out some new videos next week. As I said at the beginning of the live stream, I'm going to be tonight. I'll be with the boys from Dangerous Rhetoric. Like I said, it'll probably be on Rumble if I had to guess. As soon as I see the link come up, I will start spreading it around. And if you want a good laugh, you can see me be the token straight hanging out with all these guys. So that'll be kind of funny. Also, I'll be on Keto and Crime next Wednesday at 6:30 on her channel. That's going to be a load of fun. And like I said, I've got a chatting on the porch set up for this Thursday. Guest to be announced. The only thing I'm waiting on is the time. I just need to know when the time is. And then from there, it'll be on. I will advertise the crap out of that thing. So we're going to have a lot of fun this week. Again, like I said at the very top of the show, I want to thank everybody, not only who's here right now, but who's been watching my videos, who's been sharing them around. I mean, you guys have now pushed this thing to like 2,000 watch hours and over 430 subscribers. And, I know I get a little sappy about this, and I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to let everybody know how I genuinely feel. You guys are the best audience on the internet. I'll probably be fought with by other content creators, but I'll take you guys every day and twice on Sunday. Y'all are amazing. I cannot thank you enough for the kindness that you show me every time you watch one of my videos. You share it around, you do retweets, you come to these live streams, and I could do this, but it's not nearly as much fun without you guys. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So I know everybody's got a life to live, so let's start living it. You guys have a great weekend. And remember, as always, the words of that legendary American philosopher, Tom T. Hall. It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money. We'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.